What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Davey Sports Podcast. This is episode 174. Recording this on the evening of Friday, January 17th, 2025. Hope everybody who's listening to this has a nice long weekend coming up. Matty's back with me. What's up, Matty?
Hey guys, what's going on? Hopefully everyone's doing well.
Yeah, so we're recording here tonight. Not the vibe we thought we were going to have earlier this week, just say the least.
No, absolutely not. And it started off basically as mostly everyone woke up this morning, just like you and me.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say, really.
Unless you're living under a rock, there's a reason why we're recording tonight. Roki Sasaki is a Dodger.
Yeah, and I know, you can debate all you want. Oh, everybody knew he was going there, and that's why he came over when he did. Like, he knew he was going there because Ohtani and Yamamoto were there. He always wanted to go there. Like, we were just played all along. I don't know how much that is true. I don't know how much of that we'll ever know. Obviously, they're not going to say that he knew it all along, because then that would lead to the Dodgers getting investigated and all that. But, we'll never know. I'm not going to blame him. I'm not going to blame the Dodgers. I'm not going to blame MLB. I'm not going to blame Roki's agency. I'm only going to blame Peter Seidler's brothers, because, and I'm not going to blame Preller. It's not his fault. And I have criticized him before, but we applaud him for what he did last year, and we recognize this is not his fault.
And AJ did his best, and we've always known AJ has always wanted Sasaki back.
Yeah. Think about this, if it was, let's just say for the sake of this argument that it was, a legit process, okay?
Yep.
Why would he choose us, seeing that, the Seidler brothers, they're running the team. We have not offered a major league free. We have not signed a major league free agent this winter. There's more talks that they don't want to go over to the CBT, and which, you're not going to go over to the CBT every year, but this is the time to do it. When you're on the verge of a championship, as close as we were last year, that's when the time to go over, especially when you made all this money last year.
And a reminder, we reset our tax.
Right, you reset it last year, and you're that close to a championship. You sold out every game, made the playoff money. This is the time.
I'm stunned. It's if you asked anyone. I think I've even said it on here on previous episodes before. I thought we were going to spend a decent amount of money. It's no, we will never do what we did 2 years ago when we signed Bogarts and did everything that offseason. We didn't have to do that again, but spend a bit of money to keep the team and keep it afloat. But no.
You can't blame the guy for looking at this and be you guys were that close last year and you're not spending money and you're counting on me to come in here and save you. That's not a good strategy.
And then also to boot, he could be looking at, down the road when he has to deal with arbitration. That's what you did with Michael King.
Yeah. None of it is good. It's on the brothers, plain and simple.
Again, what have they done? What have they done since they took over? Going back to last year, what have they done?
I excuse last year because because I said before, with everything that happened, losing the TV deal and not making the playoffs, get playoff money, and the debt service ratio, whatever. Even if Peter was alive, they would have cut back this year. But last year, sorry, you cannot tell me though that if Peter were alive, they'd be doing this. And I'm just gonna go out and say this: if Peter was alive, we would have done things while waiting for this decision to make it a more attractive destination for him. And honestly, there's a really good chance we would have got him if Peter was still alive.
But again, what his brothers are doing right now is basically the complete opposite of what he would have done. Again, what they're doing right now is lip service. They're not following through again with what they've said and what they've promised to do to keep Peter's legacy alive.
And I'll just say this. When people were questioning if the lawsuit was, impacting the push of Sasaki? I will say no because what people were saying was like, if the offers were there, like people would still be going there. Would still be going there, like regardless of that going on. If they were getting the offers, they'd still be going there, but they're not getting the offers. That's the thing.
No, again, they're not doing anything. That's the issue. They haven't done a single thing this offseason, and we'll talk more about this later.
We didn't even bring back Higgy or Solano.
Or even like a Martin Perez if you wanted a little bit more depth. Like stuff that. We haven't even brought back.
I'm not going to say Perez in this because Perez signed for like.
Well, we haven't even brought back Peralta yet. Even him.
I know.
But I'm just throwing all the examples. Like those guys would have helped any of them if we brought them back.
Yeah,
but we've done nothing.
So that's why you can't sit here and be like, oh, well, Shield filing the lawsuit when she did cost us any chance of Sasaki.
And guess what?
No, she isn't filing that if the brothers are running the team like their brother Peter would have. Then she isn't filing it. And also, like I said, that doesn't impact the pursuit if they're still getting the offers. And the offers aren't there. That's the thing.
And guess what? I saw a ridiculous thing being that was thrown out on Twitter like an hour ago saying, why did Shu have to do it now? Guess what?
We're still going on that cesspool right now, which we'll get into.
Sorry, but guess what? For saying oh, Sasaki and Wolf were out. No, they probably already knew. They probably already knew this all along. And this didn't impact, as we have mentioned earlier this week, what's going on in ownership doesn't impact if players want to come here or not.
Yeah. It wasn't the lawsuit. It wasn't that. It was the fact that they are not making a serious effort to get pieces to build around a really good core. And when they were so close last year.
And that's the most infuriating thing. We were this close. This close. We pushed them to the brink in 5 games. And it was NODS, but we all know that was the World Series.
Of course.
That's the World Series right there.
Every Dodgers player and coach and manager and broadcaster has freaking said it.
So guess what? What do you do if you're that close to winning a championship? You were that close to being that team. Do you go in and try to make your team better? What have we done? The freaking opposite.
No, and I'll tell you why I think that I go back to this. Why I think that if Peter were still here, that we would have got him if he was seriously considering other teams.
Mm-hmm.
Because if Peter were still here, their pitch would be, we were so close last year. We've added this guy, brought back this guy. We want you to be that last piece, get us over the top. That's a very attractive pitch, and having, the built-in factors that we talked about earlier this week. But, their pitch is like, oh, come save us. It's like, well, then you guys are a joke is probably what he thinks.
And it doesn't matter that we have Yu Darvish's godfather here, who he adores. That didn't matter. So guess what?
It doesn't matter if he sees that it's an unserious operation going on here, which, and there's still time to change this, and we'll talk about this at the end.
We will.
As of right now, they are proven to be an unserious operation.
And guess what? If I have to say it right now, if you thought last year's offseason was bad, this is way worse than what happened. And honestly, I'll give you the reasons why. Number one, we actually did things last year. If deny it or not, we did things last year. Yeah, we lost talent, but we did things to help the team actually get better. That's number one. And number two, we were wise with what we did. Unlike this year, we have done, again, nothing. So it's much, 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 much worse. And the fact, again, that we were coming off a playoff run where we were this close to beating the Dodgers and more than likely winning the World Series ourselves if we won that series. That's what makes this so painful and so infuriating in so many levels. That's the issue for me. Why can't we have sustained success for more than 1 year? Why is there something in the way that prevents us?
Every year, dude. Mm-hmm. Every single time. Ugh.
Yeah, so this absolutely blows right now because as we've all known, our whole offseason was so reliant on this.
Yeah, which is dumb. Because as we're about to, this will transition us into our next point. It's like, is this guy, does he have all the upside in the world to be amazing? Yes, of course. But is he a sure thing? Is he going to be this? Is he going to be like I don't even think he'll be like Skeens was for Pittsburgh last year. Like,
no,
I don't think he'll even
not as a rookie.
do that. Like, he's never pitched more than 129 and third innings. Like, he has to build up to that. Like, if you're planning your whole offseason around this guy who has durability concerns, who's only 23 years old, has only pitched in Japan, and has
injury
building your whole offseason around that guy, that was the problem to begin with. Not the fact that you didn't get him.
Yes.
And you can say, well, you're saying that now because you didn't get him. No, if we had signed him, I'd be coming out here saying, like, this is great. We got a guy with ace potential for cheap, but he's not a sure thing. He's a work in progress because of this, and this. I would be saying that to you if we got him. So it's not one of those things like, oh, you didn't get him, so you're trying to nitpick at him now. No.
We're not. Again, the issue is with our ownership.
And that's why we didn't get the guy, and this is a big missed opportunity because of it.
We're not blaming anyone else except Peter Seidler's brothers. They're the reasons why. They're the biggest reasons why we didn't get him. Probably the only reason why we didn't get this guy.
I mean, I don't know if I'd say the only reason, but if he seriously considered other teams like they claim, that was the tiebreaker, was our ownership.
Yep. Because we had everything else. We had everything else to combat the Dodgers. If we actually spent money and made the team better or tried to keep it the way it was from last year. But nope.
Oh, God. All right.
A couple things.
You got the negative stuff out of the way? You got all the negative stuff out of the way?
Yeah, there's actually some things that we want to say regarding positive because, yes, there's middle ground in everything. You can't be negative all the time, and at the same time, you can't be positive all the time.
No, and let's just get right into this.
So we're gonna average things out here.
Yeah, we'll average things out because that's what we do. And I'll tell you right here. Let's not act like it's over and that the sport is done for and we should never watch baseball again because it's over. They got to fix some things. Like, it's not perfect.
The frustrations are real. Like, I'd be lying to you if I said I don't have any frustrations. I have my frustrations.
Yeah, I do too.
We've shared it on here
for 14 minutes. Yeah. Me too, man.
We've shared our frustrations on.
Yeah. And they do need to make changes, which is becoming more and more apparent is coming, in my opinion. And we'll get to that later on here. But as is, it's not over. You can still keep watching the sport. There's still reasons to watch, and other teams still have a chance. And here's why. So many people are acting like this is like when in the NBA, when Kevin Durant went to Golden State in 2016. It's not. What if Soto went there? That would have been Durant going to Golden State. This is not Durant to Golden State. This would be more like, you remember in the year before, in 2015, the 14-15 season, Golden State went 67-15 or 65-17.
67
and they won the NBA final, right?
Yes.
That would have, the more accurate comparison would have been if they got the first overall pick after winning that. Because, a really good but not, record-setting team getting the first overall pick, because that's what the Dodgers were last year. They won 98 games. They were really good, not historically great. And then it would have been like if they got the first overall pick, because that's basically what Sasaki's like. It's like a number one overall pick. Like, probably going to be good, but not, like the greatest thing in the world from day one, and still a chance he doesn't work out.
Correct.
So that's what it's more like for one, which, is unfair because it's like, well, why would the team that just won the championship get the first overall pick? Like, which would be unfair in a way, but it's like not absurdly unfair.
Not the worst thing in the world.
No, not at all. There's much worse things. Like, and first of all, like, you could talk about the regular season. Oh, they're going to win 100 and whatever games, which isn't necessarily true, which we'll talk about here. And they'll win 100 and whatever games. Why should anybody else try? It's not even going to be close. Okay, great. I mean, you can go 130 and 32. None of that matters in October. Anybody can be beat 3-2 or 4-3 in a 5 or 7 game series. I say that all the time. I'm going to say it again. Right. It's still true. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, look at us in 2022. They won 111 games. We didn't have Tatis. We beat them in the division series. It's possible.
We were 22 games back that year. And we'll give you more prime examples of not just the Dodgers.
Remember the Seattle Mariners when they set the wins record, 116 wins in 2001. They didn't even make the World Series. They lost to the Yankees in the ALCS.
They almost lost in the ALDS, to be crying out loud.
To Cleveland, yeah, you're right. I'll just say this too.
Yeah. What we're going to say next is not just the Dodgers, but overall, what teams have done with the best record in baseball since the wild card era started.
Can we save that for this point specifically about the Dodgers?
Yeah. Yes, we'll talk about the Dodgers first. We
said first.
We'll talk about the Dodgers first.
Acting like the Dodgers went from, they're good enough to make the playoffs, but not a serious threat, to like not like the top contender to win the World Series, to great. No, they've been a great regular season team basically the whole time this current ownership, basically started in the 2013 season. They've won 2 of 12 world championships in that time, not 6 or 7 or 8 or anything crazy like that. 2 out of 12, like with great regular season teams basically every year. Like, this is not new for them to have a great regular season. I don't know why people don't compute this. In this time, they failed to make the World Series with 206 win teams. 2019 when they lost to Washington in the division series. 2021 when they lost to Atlanta in the NLCS. That's 206 win teams that didn't make the World Series, in addition to that aforementioned 111 win team. And I know people are going to say, oh, their rotation's way too stacked. And we're going to talk about the rotation here in a sec. Their rotation's too stacked, way too stacked. How are you ever going to beat that, like, in a postseason series? Let me repeat this. The Atlanta Braves had a decade where they had 3 Hall of Fame starting pitchers in their primes. They won fewer World Series than the Florida Marlins in that time frame. True story. They only won in 95 with Maddox, Slav, and Smoltz. Marlins won 97 in 2003.
You've said this numerous times on here. It's like a broken record.
Oh, you can't compare now to then. Yeah, you can. It's the same idea.
A broken record. Okay, that brings us to our next point. That's the wild card era we're talking about.
Also,
okay,
2011, Philadelphia. Remember, they were supposed to have like the historically good rotation. They had Roy Halladay, who I believe won Cy Young that year. Cole Hamels and Cliff Lee, who also finished, I believe, top 5 in Cy Young.
And Vance Worley.
Vance Worley was like a Rookie of the Year candidate that year, and they had Roy Oswalt at the end of his career. Yeah. They won over 100 games. They lost in the division series to St. Louis, who barely made the playoffs on the last day of the season.
Yeah. Okay, so this will bring us to our next overall point in the wild card era, okay? So, listen to this, okay? Logic would say this, that the team with the best record in baseball would by far win more World Series than teams that were wildcard teams. That would be logic, right?
Yeah, of course. You'd think so.
Guess what? We have some breaking news to you. Okay?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so in the 30 years of the wild card era, only 7 teams out of those 30 that had the best record in the regular season won the World Series. Only 7 out of 30. So that's like 1 out of every 5 champion has the best record in baseball since the wild card era started. Okay? Guess what? Wild card teams have actually won more World Series than teams that have had the best record in baseball. 8 of them. We went back and looked at this. This is true. 8 wildcard teams in the last 30 years have won the World Series. So, for people who are saying, oh, you have to win the division, or you have the best, you need the best record. No, you don't.
Not even close.
Not especially with the extra team now. So, that should tell you it's not a given if you have the best record. Because, like, what? Okay? And as I've repeated, and I said last episode, there's been no repeat champion since the Yankees.
Yeah, and I mean,
from 98 to 2000.
Honestly, I think that will probably change at some point in these next 5 years, but it's not a given by any means.
It's not a given, no. So, like, hold your horses, and let's go back to the Dodgers for saying, oh, they have this stacked rotation. Okay? Like, I think this fits well. Because, like, yeah, this, like, they still have enough to win a lot of games in the regular season. But when it comes to the playoffs, and again, every year since 2021, they've had pitching injuries. And let's look at their projected rotation as of now. We all know about Snell. Every year besides his 2 Cy Young years, he's been to the IL at least once. And now the guy has gotten paid, is on a talented team. He's not going to try as much. We know the guy. So, like, he's probably going to struggle or go in the IL multiple times. Like, he only cares about pitching well in the playoffs. Got to make it there first, bud. Tyler Glasnow. Do we have to say more about him?
No, I mean, he pitched. People are like, oh, they didn't have Glasnow at the end of the season last year. Yeah, before that, he pitched 140 and a third innings, which was his career high.
And then Yamamoto, first year here, already was hurt for like a big portion of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a small guy. So, like, he's not going to be injury-free. And Sasaki, like we said, has already had injuries, and we know the history of Dodger pitchers getting injured. So, guess what?
I mean,
based on everything we said, most of the guys have injury concerns.
Gonsolin and May and them. Gonsolin and May get hurt every year. Gonsolin's coming off Tommy John.
And if Kershaw comes back, he's been an injury candidate.
Yeah, of course.
So
did you even get into Ohtani coming off a second Tommy John and how
low the fans,
guys coming off a second Tommy John have succeeded?
I'm glad we saved this for last, because there are people who still think, oh, he's going to be a top 5 pitcher again. No, I'll tell you why. Well, number one, he just turned 30, and as you just mentioned, he just had a second Tommy John, and the odds of you being good again after a second Tommy John, especially at his age right now, are like slim to none. We saw it with Clevenger. The dude was a shell of himself. Like, will he be as bad as Clevenger? Probably not. But the fact is, he'll never be as dominant as he was from 21 to 23 as a pitcher. No shot.
No, and I mean, just the fact that he's going to try to pitch again means he's not going to, be stealing all the bases and stuff like he did this year. Like,
and he's probably not going to hit 50 home runs again.
No, because of that, this is especially with the injury he suffered in the World Series. Like, this last year was the best offensive year he's ever going to have. Like, he's never going to sniff 50-50 again.
That's probably never going to happen again. To be honest, it's going to be tough.
Yeah,
but
bottom line here is like, it's a safe bet that come October, come the playoffs, there's going to be some injury concern, at least one with their pitching.
If not two,
every
not
year
three.
since the pandemic. That last year wasn't a one-off. It happens every year to them.
Right, 4 straight years now.
Yeah. So like
for people who are going to say, "Oh, they're too stacked," like they have too much depth. No, like we just listed down. Basically, all of their main pitchers have injury concerns.
Of course,
all of them. All of them.
And then we just mentioned it, like, okay, even if they win 100 and whatever games, like it doesn't, like in the postseason, anybody can go 3-2 or 4-3 against them. Like if they get in, like the difference between a 90 win team and a 105 win team in baseball. That sounds like a big difference, but it's really about the difference of what, like a 13-11 win team in the NFL.
Yeah.
So doesn't seem as big when you put it that way, huh?
No. And I'll say this before we go back to us, as in the Padres, okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's say this. Let's treat MLB the same way as college basketball.
Yes.
Because why do we love March Madness so much? Because of its randomness and upsets, and that anything can happen any round, any game, right? That's why we love the tournament so much. Let's treat baseball the same way, because baseball is the most random sport out of all 4 professional leagues.
Oh yeah, I mean, like the 6th seed in the NL, all 3. Let's look at the 3 seasons since they had the 6th seed to each league. In those 3 seasons, the 6th seed in the National League: Philadelphia 2022 World Series, Arizona 2023 World Series, Mets last year NLCS.
And I'll add for 22 and 23, the NLCS consisted of 2 wildcard teams facing off against each other.
Yeah, it did.
So let's compare it to college basketball, because with now there's similarities with how the portal, recruiting, NIL, you can say the same, you can apply it to baseball as well.
Absolutely. Like, Duke, Kentucky, North Carolina, Kansas, they'll get all the recruits and NIL and stuff that, these mid-majors can't dream of. But a mid-major can go up against them in the NCAA tournament and beat them, like Oakland beat Kentucky. What was that, last year, right?
Last year. Yeah, and then even
beat Duke however many years ago, too. Like,
right. And then even
the Gold Coast beat Georgetown when Georgetown was good.
Yeah, and then even not just like a mid-major, but like other good programs that don't spend a lot, but they're good programs that can win. They still have a chance.
Like the Aztecs do. Like,
there you go. Like a San Diego State. Yeah. Like a team that doesn't spend a lot, but they're going to be a good team.
Yeah, I mean, those teams can, beat, the teams that have the richest NIL and get all the best recruits that we could never dream of getting. Like, we can beat teams like that. Like when we beat Alabama in the Sweet 16.
The MLB playoffs are basically the same thing.
Like, yeah, they are. They really are. Like Arizona can't get the recruits that the free agent. Although they got Corbin Burns, but for the most part,
once in the moon, but they can't do it consistently.
No, they can't. That's rare. Like, they can't consistently get all the best free agents like, the Dodgers can, just like we can't get, the 5 stars that those schools can. But if we played those schools in the tournament, we could beat them. Like, same thing in baseball. Like,
right. So like one seeds don't always win every year. Just like the best record in baseball doesn't always win every year.
Yeah, so if you treat, this is a great comparison for me, because baseball and college basketball are my 2 big things.
Same here.
Well, that's what we got in San Diego. So
yes,
those are my 2 main sports. Baseball kind of was anyway. Well, kind of were anyways, even before the Chargers left, because those were the 2 sports I actually seriously played. But those have always been my 2 favorite sports, and it's kind of fitting that those are the 2 things we have here in San Diego. So
no question.
But the fact is, those are my 2 go-to sports pretty much, and you treat them the same way, just like that. I think it works. I mean, and it's true. Like,
yeah,
we just told you.
I love the comparison.
Like, even NC State as in the Final Four last year.
Like a team that's in a major conference, like they're a good program, they can even make a Final Four. So again, like making a World Series, winning a World Series. We've seen small markets win World Series recently, or even make the World Series.
Arizona, when they got in the World Series 2 years ago, like we mentioned, had one of the lowest payrolls that year. I mean, Atlanta and Houston did not spend crazy to get their rings.
No, like the Royals won the World Series in less than a decade. Like it's about to be a decade now. And there are other examples of small market teams doing
2 in a row, and they were like 90 feet away from winning 2 in a row, basically.
Yeah.
I think they would have won Game 7 against the Giants if that had gone to extra innings in 2014.
Yeah. So again, treat MLB and college basketball in the same manner. Think about it. Think about it for a second. There's a lot of similarities.
Yeah, like they're becoming more and more similar now. Basically, the point is, like, I'd love if we could go toe-to-toe with them, if we could win an NL West title. I'd love that, but it doesn't change the calculus and what the main goal is to try and win a World Series.
No, so...
Now, what I will say, though, as far as 2025 is concerned,
yes.
I don't, like... you haven't done anything at this point. Spring training's too close. I just don't see how you can... I don't see how it's going to work this year because, like, you're 7th or 8th in the NL right now, in my opinion. I think we are. So, like, it's going to be too close to call in terms of getting in. So, like, and then you could be in big trouble in 2026, especially, you know, because Cease isn't going to resign either way. Boris Client. Now, Horizon King might be more debatable, although you are taking King to arbitration, so that hurts big time. But so this is not going to happen because the Seidler brothers, you know,
this is what
putting out saying like, oh, we have this guy, and selling tickets and making money.
This is what we would do, but we doubt it's gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen. I would trade the guys on 1-year contracts, you know, do a bit of a soft reset and, you know, try and get some more pieces for 2026 plus.
Because we'll tell you why. Like, I hate to say, like, am I still optimistic on the future? Yeah, I definitely am. But as the reason we have stated before, like when we started the podcast, we haven't spent anything. We haven't improved our team. If you most of the time, can you tell me one time a team did well when they did nothing in the offseason in any sport?
No, not really.
So I'm not as optimistic on how the season will go. The goal, our goal is to win a World Series. I don't think we're going to make the playoffs at this rate, especially not doing anything. And look at every other contender in the NL. They've done something to make themselves better. We haven't. And again, you have to do something in order to win. You have to add.
Yeah.
You have to keep your team afloat. We've done none of it. So, like, for this year, we'll go more into it. But, like, for this year, for me, I don't think I can care as much because, like, my expectations aren't as high as they should be.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's like,
so, like, I would, like, if I were you guys, I would temper my expectations for this year only. For this year only, because again, things can change. The thing that needs to happen the most right now, as we have mentioned, and everyone knows, is that we have to resolve this ownership problem. That's the biggest issue that I'm concerned with for 2025.
Yeah, I mean, the ownership thing is a much bigger deal than not getting Sasaki. I mean, I got to tell you guys.
Or whatever happens on the field this year.
Yeah, because the reason why I say, but I know people are going to say, well, why would you make the 2025 team worst if the goal is to be just good enough to get in the playoffs every year? It's like, because looking at it, you could have a real problem in 2026. Like, what starting pitchers are under contract in 2026?
Like Darvish and
Musgrove coming off Tommy John, and Darvish will be 39 next year. I mean, and you don't have a top pitching prospect coming up next year. So
no, like I can't think of one for the next 2 or 3 years, to be honest.
Yeah, so
that's the biggest issue that I'm concerned with.
So So, like, if you don't do that, and I don't think they will, like, 26 and 27 could be a little rough. I hate to say it, but
look grim. And again, we're doing a disservice to Machado, who's over 30, and he still has a couple good years left. Like, I would say 4 or 5, actually. We're wasting that away. We're wasting Fernando's prime years right now.
Yeah, they're lucky.
We're wasting opportunities. Merrill Young. So that's a disservice on its own.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just it's not good. And they're gonna make it worse if they. The worst case scenario is the one that's probably gonna happen. Honestly, they'll win 85 games, miss the playoffs by 4 or 5 games. They will only get comp picks for King and Cease.
Maybe Arise even.
Yeah, and then you're going to have to replace them in 2026 when ownership has shown no willingness to spend any money.
And again, you can say all you want about this. This is why you don't trade too many of your prospects away. We give credit to AJ for 2024, but the other years where we traded too many of our prospects, this is where you pay for it.
Yeah, and I'm not going to, and I won't kill AJ for this.
I won't either.
Because he thought Peter was still going to be around and be like, if you trade these guys and fill holes, don't worry. Well, I'll give you money to try and fill in a hole.
Now that's gone.
That's gone. That's so it's hard to pin that on AJ, but it's just hurt.
I'm not blaming it on AJ. Again, that's the issue with his brothers. Because they can't provide AJ what he needs.
Yeah. So I'll just say.
So again, if you want to blame anyone, that's another reason why you should blame that group. Yeah. And yes, we are known to be critics of AJ in the past, but we're doing none of that today. None of it.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just say this too is but let's look at 2027, okay? DeVry and Salas should be up then.
We're going back to the positive side of things to even things out.
DeVry and Salas should be up in 2027, and when that happens, in 2027, Tatis will be 28, and Merrill will be
23,
24,
22, 20, 24.
Yeah, so those guys will still be in their. Tatis will be late 20s, Merrill mid 20s when those guys come up. If you hit on, if say the Cash Mayfield guy we drafted in the first round this year, or the Isaiah Lowe guy that I think we've talked about and we saw him pitch it on the Storm last year.
Yes.
If you get that guy, those two, and then I don't know, say that Shield takes control of the team by then, that's 2 years into the future. That's not out of the realm of possibility. It might take longer, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. Then you could go somewhere. And then especially, 28, 29, when those guys have experience, Tatis is 29 or 30, Merrill's still in his mid 20s. And then, you have maybe prospects that you draft, even this upcoming draft in July, are maybe ready by then too. Then, then you're talking.
And then what do you call it? Because AJ is a guy that knows talent. He's done well drafting guys that have value and can help. The thing is, though, as we said in the past, we don't keep those guys. It's imperative that we need to develop these guys for them to play for us. That's the thing that we need. And I trust AJ to do well in drafts.
Yeah,
I do trust him.
And we talked about with the pitching development with Niebla since he's been here, and
the hitting now with
yeah. So and then what a big success Merrill was last year one, and getting these random veterans that we signed for super cheap to be key contributors. Which maybe that happens again this year. I mean. Nobody thought Solano or Peralta were going to be big parts of the team. So, I mean, maybe it happens again this year.
Or even Higgy. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the other thing I'll say about this year. That could help. But, so basically the point is, you have those guys, you feel good, especially after seeing what Merrill did last year, that you'll be able to develop your talent going forward. I know that was the best thing about Merrill this year to me.
No question. So, again, there's positives.
Of course, there always is. There's always some positive, some negative. Most of the time. I mean, there's some extreme cases for sure, but
okay, there's going to be a couple of things that we want to mention here, going back to the bigger scheme of baseball and what can happen in the future for MLB. So one thing, if you have noticed this offseason, besides Juan Soto, there haven't been...
And Max Fried.
And Max Fried, okay? Can you tell me another super long-term contract that you've seen this offseason?
No, I really haven't. The only ones I can think of are Soto and Fried off the top of my head.
And there have been guys in free agency that are still in free agency because they're not getting it.
If you think Corbin Burns is, super long term or not. That's kind of a gray area.
Yeah, like 6 years is like okay. Sure. For this free agency, sure. Like that's only 3. It's only 3. We usually see way more deals that are 6 years, at minimum 6 years. There's only 3 of them this year. So don't you think that's a red flag for baseball? And like teams are getting smarter. Like, well, we don't want to sign guys to long-term deals anymore. And that this
reason, I think there's a reason you haven't seen any of these long-term deals.
Right.
And what do you think that reason is? We've talked about it before. This isn't new if you've listened to us.
Because of what the Dodgers are doing.
Yeah, I mean, and what is what the Dodgers have been doing going to lead to?
A lockout.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's going to be real changes in this CBA. The current one expires after the 26th season.
2 years away, but yeah, but again, why would I'll bring it up. Seeing a team like the Dodgers doing what they're doing, and with all the resources that they have, why would you want to compete against that? Especially that almost every team can't compete with that.
Yeah, that's why I've shut down the whole put the compete with them away, just build a team to get into the postseason that anything can happen, like we talked about.
Right, don't play with their fire.
Yeah, just play to get in the playoffs and you have a chance, which is true. That's what we spent like 20 minutes talking about.
But what the Dodgers are doing is not good for baseball. Do not let the national media tell you otherwise.
Yeah, of course not.
They're scaring teams away from competing.
Yeah.
They're scaring teams away from spending. Why would you want to spend if you know you have zero chance?
Yeah.
Or close to zero chance. Why?
Yeah.
Because again, we talked about this in a previous episode not too long ago on why changes need to be made, and this is another example why. Is what happened today.
Yeah.
Because like only one team has been manipulating the system to their benefit. Only one. And they're reaping the rewards of it.
Yeah, so there's going to be, real changes. I mean, they're coming, dude. That's why teams aren't signing long-term contracts literally this offseason, because they don't want to lock themselves into something and then be like, oh, well, the new CBA changed the rules and now you're just screwed because you signed this contract under the old CBA. Nobody wants that.
Because guess what? It's worth repeating. Baseball is not the same as it was 20 to 30 years ago, and baseball is going down a very slippery path. And as you've said before, even Manfred knows about it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think he's honestly thrilled about this outcome.
No. Like, I think if you're baseball, not the national media, I think baseball would have wanted Sasaki to go anywhere but the Dodgers.
Yeah, there's going to be real changes in the next CBA. Like, I was skeptical for a while, but I was like, yeah, maybe, but I don't think so because
guess what we've heard today, even from Jim Bolden, like things won't probably be changed because of this. But again, we've all known, like, quote unquote rumors that this was a done deal. There was a handshake agreement between Sasaki and the Dodgers a long time ago, and some teams want the MLB to investigate it. There's allegations. So again, like something like this, even because like the international pool is not an even playing field as well. Let's face it. Not every team uses the whole international pool to sign young international guys, or even try to get the best international guys. Though it's a crapshoot.
Yeah. So
okay,
I think you're gonna remember, like we talked about last time, like the MLB talked about limiting deferrals last CBA negotiations. I'm like, it's not a big deal. And the PA said no. So like, okay, whatever. It's not a big deal. Fine.
Because they never thought this would happen. They never thought
this would happen. So like now they're going to be like, okay, this time around we want change there. The international draft is the same thing. It was like, it's not a deal breaker. They even added it later as like we'll negotiate on that after agreeing to the rest of the CBA. And if like we have one, the qualifying offer will go away. If we don't have one, the qualifying offer stays. And ultimately they didn't get one. Qualifying offer stayed. It was a low priority. Like now it's going to be like a higher priority because you shouldn't have a situation like we talked about earlier. Like it's not, totally unfair, but there has to be a better system than, the defending world champions basically being able to get a number 1 overall pick like that.
Exactly. So
there has to be a better system. So that's why I think you're going to see real changes there. We talked about how Manfred's going to do like the streaming deal. So teams that don't have an RSN or lost their RSN will, have a streaming option to, make, tens of millions or whatever off that, which still won't completely even the playing field, but it'll get it back to what it was before the RSN collapse last year, which wasn't absurd, which was acceptable, if not perfect.
Yeah, and then
well, I will say this though, is like
Yep.
Well, actually I'll save that for later. About RSNs. I'll save that for later.
Save that for later. But here's one interesting thing on again why the Dodgers are behaving and why we think this change. Again, the controlling owner, Mark Walter of Guggenheim, is on the MLB Economic Reform Committee. So why do you think they're doing?
Remember that Economic Reform Committee? It had like Monfort and I think some other like couple other small market owners, like a medium-sized market owner on it. That was formed shortly after the last CBA was agreed to, ending that lockout. Again, Dodgers control person is on that. Like I think they know like change is coming. They're just trying to we'll see how many we can win before they change the rules.
Yeah, that's why they're doing all the deferrals right now because they know they can't do this forever.
Yeah, they're like, they're basically like, we're going to see how many we can win before they change the rules and even the playing field.
Right. So like,
kind of like how, in the NFL, like how the Cowboys loaded up to win 3 out of 4 Super Bowls. And then the NFL implemented the salary cap and the Cowboys haven't been to an NFC championship game since.
Yeah. So that's a good comparison right there. So again, like that's an indication that something might happen, and like they know.
I don't think it's a might at this point. I think it's a near guarantee because
right.
And I know people are going to say like, but they said there'll never be a salary cap in baseball. There's been a lot of nevers that have happened.
Yep.
So you can't just say that's a lazy argument. There's been tons of nevers that have happened. Right. And let's face it, like MLB owners, like I said, the salary cap too, they included early on the last CBA negotiations, they included proposals with a salary cap that were quickly rejected. And they were like, okay, fine, we're not going to get it, and moved on. But like this time, like they're going to hold the line and sit out longer if they have to. Because again,
we set this on a pod, I believe a month or episode a month ago. Yeah. This is a completely different situation than the last CBA negotiation / lockout when that happened. Okay, so let's go back again just to remind. Okay, So 2022 happens. Just a reminder, 2020, no crowds, short season. 2021, basically every team had limited crowds for a good portion of the year.
Everyone except Texas did.
Right.
And
so
then
29
Atlanta opened up in
72.
early May, 100%. Everybody else had at least a third of the season with a limited crowd. Most teams
owners were going into that CBA negotiations not in the best situation.
No, they had every motive to
get a deal
be like, okay, we can't miss any games, so we have to cave on.
And again, and they're not just owning the team, they're not on losing money with their franchises, but with their businesses with the pandemic.
Which could have absolutely.
So again, with the other ventures, so they had every motive to not lose games. But this time around, you're gonna have.
That's why I think that after what happened March 1st, and they didn't come to an agreement, they were like, and they initially canceled games. They were like, "Well, crap, we're actually gonna miss games." That's why they said, "Oh, we can still play 162 if we agree to this day and fill in with double headers and stuff." That's why they did it, 100%.
Right.
But this time around, they can afford to these owners can afford to sit out games, especially because another factor why they didn't want to miss games was missing games in 2020 meant they got paid less by their RSN per game because of missed games. They didn't want that to happen again. But a lot of teams lost their RSN now, so that's not a factor this time around.
And then how 2020 happened was not good PR for baseball in general, with how they lost that amount of games when they could have played more than 60, to be honest.
Yeah, so they had every reason to try and play 162 that year. They really don't. And I think more and more people are either resigned to lockout costing games in 27 or are okay with it if it means significant change happens.
Because again, this is a different era than the 90s, and the target group is completely different, and the guys who were upset at what happened in the 90s are probably much older now.
Yeah, I mean, if they're even alive, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh, so
they're not the target group anymore to save baseball, to gain a bigger audience.
No, so and these owners, they can afford, like I was saying, they can afford to sit out, be like, okay, I'll miss, however many games. I don't go anywhere. I want this change, and I don't need these games to be played. And if you're one of these, rank and file players, you're like, well, shoot, we got to, come to the middle to, get back on the field. We can't, just be forfeiting millions of dollars. We got to get back on the field, and they got to, cave the other way. I don't think it'll lead to a whole season being lost, like the 04-05 NHL lockout, but it won't be a full season, but it'll be a similar result. Getting a salary cap after years of insisting and failing, they're going to actually finally get one, I think, because they're going to just be like, well, the owner's going to have the leverage and it'll be like, well, we can, sit here and, sit out and we're going to be fine either way. But you rank and file players, you kind of need to get out on the field and play. So you got to come to us. And then that's how it happened to me.
Right. And then again,
shout out to our guy, ADHD runs me 858 on Twitter, because he's the one who basically said this to me. And I'm like, you know what? I actually agree with that. So shout out to him on that, because that was what he said. And I agree with it.
Yeah. So I again, today was another reason why there needs to be changes. And you can say all you want, saying, oh, you're just jealous of the Dodgers. We're not the only people saying this. It's a league-wide thing besides Dodger fans who would agree on it.
I mean, and it's great, it's like I said earlier, it's totally great to have it college basketball where you can not be at a financial disadvantage, market disadvantage, but still beat those teams that have the advantage over you in the playoffs when it really counts. That's great. Yeah. That is awesome. Totally. We spent 20 minutes saying how great that is, but wouldn't it be better if it was like the NFL and a team in Buffalo? We got Buffalo and Baltimore playing each other in the AFC divisional round. And I think both you and I have said that we are split on who we think wins that game, but both you and I think whoever wins that game goes to Kansas City and wins the AFC championship, goes to the Super Bowl. Those are not big markets, nor is Kansas City. those teams can be great in the regular season. They don't have to, rely on being a Cinderella.
No.
Which being a Cinderella is fun, but at some point too, you want to be able to be the big dog at some point too.
And then let's go back to college basketball, like to a degree. Like, yeah, like, of course we said we loved it, but even that sport needs some tweaking on NIL and portal.
Yeah, it's there again. MLB and college basketball are kind of the same way. We love them the way they are, but we think they can be better.
Yes, well said.
Yeah, I love both in their current form, but they could be a lot better still. And
no question.
Yeah. So that's the way I see it. There. So expect, big changes, and that's another thing to like, just like this year, they're kind of in limbo. Next year, probably not going to be not a great situation, but
I think the way I'm thinking it, the way it is right now, just looking at the timeline, because as you said, it's going to be 2 years since the lockout. Maybe that is what is needed for, again, like the Padres to become good again, is around that time period. So again, like maybe when these changes happen, things can get better for not just the Padres, but for other teams as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, it's gonna, yeah.
So like, stay patient, and I just have to say this. For like newer Padre fans who haven't experienced this as long as we have, it's not easy being a Padre fan, and today was another example why. And again, hopefully one of these days we get rewarded for our loyalty and love to this team.
Yeah.
I still believe that we can get something done, but we have to be patient. I hate to say it.
Yeah,
because I want to win now as much as anyone does, but I don't want to throw everything away just for 1 or 2 years. Like the last several years has helped me mature as a fan, and I hope people can see that the same way.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this year I'm mixed on this year. Like,
right.
I don't know how to really feel about this year. Like I don't know, like, but
yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what we do. I mean, pitchers and catchers reports really soon.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that, this year is kind of, I don't know, could be good, but also serious question marks. I think next year's pretty iffy. 27 things will get better. I think to get back to where we were last year, probably 2028 or 2029. I hate to say it, but that's kind of the conclusion I draw from today. But, if these changes happen, like we think they will, I think, because the Padres did what they did last year at a disadvantage. Like, it's never going to be perfectly even, but if they have a more even playing field, in 28, 29, I think things could look really good then for the reasons we said. So.
So, as much as it doesn't make sense now, try to keep the faith. This is not the end of the world, as much as some people think of it to be.
No, I mean, we'll see what happens with attendance this year. I mean, they'll probably still be pretty high. I don't think it'll be as high as last year, but they miss the playoffs, then do nothing. It's going to go down a lot in 2026, and then at that point, you're going to see like something will have to change. Like, not just, and I'm not talking about the CBA stuff we just talked about. I'm talking about like up top, like who's running the team.
Again, that's the biggest issue what's going on with this franchise right now, and that's what's at the forefront. Hopefully, again, as we said, this gets resolved sooner rather than later. So, I think that's all regarding the pods. you have anything else to add regarding our
I'll
team in
just close
baseball?
out by saying this is that as far as what I want to see this year now, it's like, yeah, getting in the playoffs, giving ourselves a chance in the playoffs will be great. But
Yeah.
what I think that isn't 100% on what we do. That depends on other teams too. And as of right now, we're probably 7th or 8th. And I want to see, something unexpected, that could help the long-term outlook. Like I want to see like the Nunez guy we got from Baltimore establish himself as a legit starter. I want to see like Tirso and or Brandon Lockridge, make themselves a viable major league outfielder. And if you think I'm crazy for saying that, Tirso was once a top prospect, kind of been slow by injuries. Nice year in El Paso last year. Probably a 4A guy, but who knows? He has a chance to be good.
Mm-hmm.
And Brandon Lockridge, he hit over 300 with a bunch of stolen bases last year, playing for the Yankees AAA team, which is in the International League, which is not on the moon like the PCL is. It's actually the opposite. It's more pitcher friendly, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Because Scranton is in the IL. So yeah, I mean, the International League. So
Yep. So I think that's it for now. Do you want to talk a little bit Aztecs before we end?
I mean, what could be said? I mean, they had Miles Bird's amazing. They had a nice game against Colorado State. They were favored by 7.5. They won by 15. They had a nice game.
I think like as each game passes on, I think it's pretty obvious, and I think it's more than likely now Bird will be in the NBA next year and be drafted.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a ton to say about them because they've played one game since then, and it was a game that they were supposed to win, and they did win, and they look pretty good for the most part doing it. So that's nice to see. Hopefully, they do the same thing Saturday afternoon tomorrow against UNLV. You and I will be there.
Yes, we will be.
So, yeah.
But I think I think the one thing I wanted to say here quickly, because again,
I think I know where you're going with this.
There's still a chance we can win this league, folks.
100%, because this league sucks, and I can't wait until we're in the Pac-12.
Thank you. So, yeah, we're putting UNLV tomorrow. They beat Utah State on Wednesday. So Utah State finally lost the game, and maybe this is where the luck runs out for Utah State. Just maybe, because
I actually expect to beat them when we go play them in Logan.
Because we are more than capable of beating them, especially if we figure it out by then.
Yeah, even that game we blew against them, if we made one 3-point shot in the second half, we win the game.
Yes. Even they almost lost at home to they should have lost at home to Boise.
Yeah. I mean, like we said, like I've said before, Devil Magic only takes you so far, and maybe theirs is running out now after that UNLV game. I remember.
And again, as we've all known, under Dutch, we get better as the season goes on.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully Tuesday's game can be the start of a great run and help us win a regular season title, because we're right there. And the thing that helps out the most about UNLV is that they're an inconsistent team. They're not a deep team. And they had one less day of preparation and rest because, again, they played on Wednesday against Utah State. And we played on Tuesday, and we stayed home. UNLV is only 1-4 on the road.
Yeah.
So I expect us to play well again because I think we know what's at stake, and I think this team will take what happened last week at the Pitt personal. So that's something again, I've been harping this for a year now. If you want a team to root for that has had success, you have one. You have one. Go root for it.
Yeah, and I don't want to hear, and I hear people tell me this on Twitter all the time. And it's like, oh, well, not everyone here went to San Diego State and, college sports, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, but if you're going to say that for Aztec football, fine. I get it. They suck. We've destroyed them on here before these last couple of years, but
no question.
Aztec basketball is one of those teams where it's like, even though they're a college team, they're basically like having a professional team in town. Like,
yes,
I always tell people, like, I could care less if San Diego gets an NBA team or not because, like, the Aztecs are like having an NBA team here to me.
Yeah, and the community supports them, but there could be more support.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, it's a community team, not a school team is what I'm saying.
Right, but we know it could be better. We've seen it be better in the past. Let's embrace them.
Yeah. I mean,
so yeah, like if you guys want something good in this town, root for the Aztecs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why you weren't already, but yeah.
Right.
So I know most people do, but I'm just saying for some of the like weird people on Padre Twitter who are somehow SDSU haters, which I've never got,
which is mind-boggling behavior to me. But I think the one last thing before we end, you mentioned it. I'm excited to go into Pac-12 because, like, if you watched that Gonzaga-Oregon State game, which Oregon State won, those are two teams they'll be facing annually in 2 years. We only have to deal with the Mountain West for one more year, folks. Yeah. One more year.
I mean, you're first of all being in the conference with Gonzaga is going to help so much for like prestige and metrics and all that. But like that gets talked about a lot. What doesn't get enough attention is that you're going to replace Air Force with Oregon State. You're going to replace San Jose State with Washington State. Like those are big upgrades. Like
huge upgrades.
Trimming the fat at the bottom of the Mountain West is going to be so huge.
And then the one biggest thing is that you don't have to travel to obscure places anymore.
Yeah.
In the Pac-12. You don't have to go to Laramie.
I won't be the least bit sad when we make our last trip to Laramie, Wyoming.
Next year. And guess what? We don't have to deal with 20 Mountain West Conference games anymore. We only have to deal with it for 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it. You know, what's the Pac-12 going to have, like, 10 teams for basketball, probably?
Yeah.
Because, well, actually, is it going to be 9 because they want 8 football members and Gonzaga doesn't have football? So is it going to be 9? Or
they could add another one as well. It could be 9 or 10.
So you're going to have, probably an 18-game schedule. Yeah.
Which it should be. And again, the Mountain West is paying for big time this year because you're missing out on 2 non-conference games that could have helped your better teams.
Well, actually, like if it's 9 members, including us, that means that it's a 16-game conference schedule.
Yeah, even better because you can, and plus being in the Pac-12 will help us schedule better non-conference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because of better metrics. Because saying, oh, look at them, they're not in the Mountain West anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I guarantee you, especially with all the travel these West Coast teams have to do, being Cal and Stanford in the ACC, Oregon, USC, UCLA in the Big Ten, Washington, I'll throw in there too, even though they suck at basketball, but still, like, you'll be able to get like Oregon or UCLA to play you like home and home because they'll want to be on the West Coast in non-conference because of how much they have to travel in the Big Ten. I mean, Mick Cronin's already crying about the travel in the Big Ten because he's Mick Cronin.
And again, Mick Cronin, you probably have to swallow some pride coming down here because you as a school, UCLA, you never want to play us. Because guess what? The last 2 times you took losses to us.
Yeah, and I mean, and I gotta say this too, since we mentioned him, like, I've never liked him, but like the whole thing where he was like destroying his team and his assistant coaches after they lost to Michigan was just so pathetic. It's like, dude, you gotta be in this era with like the transfer portal and stuff, like you're gonna lose your team, like literally lose your team, like not lose the locker room. I mean, literally lose your players.
No one's gonna come back.
They're gonna leave.
Yeah.
Like, I've never liked him though. He always just seemed like, an angry little man who blames everybody else when they lose.
Right.
I've never liked that guy, even when he was at Cincinnati.
Yep.
All right. You got anything else to close this out?
I think that was a good way to close it out on a positive note.
Yeah, I mean, tough day to be a Padre fan. Yet another one of them. Nothing's gone right for this franchise since we went up 2-1 on the Dodgers in the NLDS.
Nope. It's been 3 months now, basically, of darkness.
But things are going to change. We're going to get through this, guys. All right? That's what we want to close on. Go back, listen to this again. Reassure you, things are going to change. It's not always going to be like this. We're going to have our shot in the future. Like, we'll get through this.
And the number one thing again, the number one overarching theme, stay patient. Not just with the Padres, but with baseball.
Yeah. And like also like and with the Aztecs going to the Pac-12 too, we could even say that like if you're fed up with this stupid Mountain West shit, like I am, excuse my language.
Yep, I am too, no question about it.
And then stay patient, if you say like, oh, I wish we still had an NFL team here like you and I are, like stay patient on that too. I mean,
love that you threw that in there.
Yeah, of course. Like just stay patient. Like, right now, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like all we pretty much got is Aztec basketball right now. But I really do think that this Aztecs are stuck in the Mountain West another year after this year.
All this is temporary, guys.
Yeah, the Padres are probably gonna have a tumultuous 2 or 3 years. But I really think we're gonna get through it, and there's gonna be a day where the Aztecs are thriving in the Pac-12. The landscape of baseball is different, and the Padres are looking good again, like they were in the second half of last year. And maybe we'll have an NFL team again. I don't know. Things will change for sure.
Yep, I agree.
All right, fellas. Matty, thank you so much as always for coming on and adding great insight. Thank you everybody for listening.
Thank you. I'm glad to help out always.
Guys. Hang in there. That's all I'm going to say.
Stay strong. Keep the faith.
Hang in there. We'll get there.
Yes.
We'll have that parade that Peter talked about, even if it's going to take a little longer than we hoped.
Our day will come.
All right. Peace out, fellas.
Okay.
Strong start for the Lobos here, but Boise State kind of crawled back into it.
Yeah.
I hate rooting for Leon Rice, but I think I might want to win this game because
yeah.